Hello everyone, herzlich willkommen. We are here with another rare movie reaction. It's been a minute since I've done one of these, I think. Yeah, I don't do these often. But we are closely approaching Oscar seasons, and there are so many films on the list that I've been meaning to check out that are just being added to my catalog, and I've not gotten the time to check this out. But I've been hearing a lot of good things about this particular film. I haven't seen the trailer or anything like that, but I'm aware Kate Blanchett is in the starring role, I believe. But that's as much as I know about the film. Um, and since then, I've just been trying to find some way to fit this into my schedule because it is apparently a very long movie. But yeah, Tar. The title alone would have sold me. Yeah, for the little that I have known and what I've been hearing about her performance, it just sounds like something that I would want to watch. So here I am. So since I know absolutely nothing about the premise other than that she's a composer, there's not much that I can say about this. I do wonder whether it's going to be, somewhere along the lines of Whiplash, which I did see and is a phenomenal film. If you haven't seen it, be sure to check it out. And if you're, I guess you don't have to, love music in general to enjoy Whiplash. You can just go on in. It's a really, really well done film, whether you were into music or not. And I'm hoping that it's the same or similar with Tar as well, where it's more of a character study that may not necessarily be for everyone, because Whiplash wasn't really for everyone, but at the same time, it's a character study. I hope where it's open to a lot more people, and it's not just straight highbrow that may turn some people off. So hopefully that's it does something similar to Whiplash, and I'll enjoy it just as much. So let's check it out.
All of us at the New Yorker welcome you. Thank you for joining us, Maestro, today.
Thank you.
Nice too.
Lydia, I couldn't
He's very
help
composed.
but see you flinch just a little bit as I was.
Well, in today's world, varied, it's a dirty word. I mean, our era is one of specialism.
Every artist gets typecast.
Oh, yes, aggressively so.
Well, do you think there'll be a moment, though, when the classical music community decides not to use sexual distinctions to differentiate?
Oh. We're going right in.
We don't call women astronauts astronettes. But as to the question of gender bias, I really have nothing to complain about. I mean, there's so many incredible women who came
create
before
a
us.
space for
The
you
women who
for
did
the next
that.
generation. I guess there are points to be made on both ends, as far as defining certain roles within a particular craft.
At that time, it was all gender spectacle. But fortunately, times change, and
Have they?
the Pauline conversion is, if not complete, then it's evolving nicely.
No less, having fallen off its horse. Lydia, could we talk a little bit about translation?
I can certainly understand why some may feel, okay, is there really a need to have a distinction when you're talking about a composer, maestro versus maestra, and so on. But then there's the other side of things where, okay, women want to
interpretation.
feel as though they have an identity of their own, so to speak.
But my right hand, the second hand, marks time and moves it forward. However, unlike a clock, sometimes my second hand stops, which
she's quite peculiar in that she's not so disconnected from everyone else where she can't carry the conversation, but it's clear that she's someone who's accustomed to controlling the flow. I mean, as a conductor, that's part of the course, it's a part of the job. But you see it come out in just this conversation as well.
About interpretation and
Okay,
specifically
so
about feelings, and that you chose love.
so I'm guessing that woman is her assistant. So she didn't write the man's speech. She just reviewed it ahead of time, so that well Tara would
An
know what
expectation
questions
reward
to
cycle with
expect.
some works, and the spots in them that I find so incredible that when I'm conducting, it's not that I'm rushing exactly, but I just can't wait to get to that spot. And yeah, it does it. It does it every
You know,
time.
one of the other movies
So it's
that
physical
I've
as
been
well as
told to
emotional.
watch,
God, it must take hours to come back down to
and I've seen some comparisons being made is with Black Swan, but I actually haven't seen Black Swan as yet. So it looks as though I'll need to add that to my list, my backlog as well. Interesting. That seems more than just an annoyed assistant reaction. It seems as though she is offended by the flattery, almost.
I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name.
Whitney Reese.
Whitney,
Hmm.
of course. I'm so
Maybe
sorry.
this is something
Unfortunately,
that
I've left things
Tara
a bit late,
does
and there's something I
often,
can't get out
I
of.
understand.
or
Can I text you?
or the assistant has a thing for her.
We should open up the fellowship.
What, expand the numbers?
No, our sex. I mean, it feels quaint to keep things single gender. We've made our point. And honestly, we've had no real trouble successfully placing any of them.
Except one.
Okay.
Oh, well.
That voice
She
sounds
had issues.
familiar.
So I've heard.
Okay, yeah, it is. Mark Strong, right? Their founding principle is single gender
Sorry you weren't able to make it to my March show
admittance.
in London.
Me too.
She doesn't
I'll
sound
picture
very
the whole
sorry.
thing. And I promised Sharon I'd be there.
So she has a kid. She mentioned someone named Sharon. Yeah, I mean, it's the unfortunate. Where we are now creatively, where a lot of times,
What
the
love teaches me.
perception is that you need
That's
to
transportation.
have an underlying shared
Mahler gives it to
experience
himself.
to actually creatively
Trust
work
me,
on
you
something.
do not want to go to school on someone else's red and blue pencil.
It's like saying that, okay,
Just
only
one line.
people of color
I
can
do.
make movies about
You
people
quit
of
pestering
color,
me?
which is something
Yes.
that I roundly a notion that I roundly reject. It's just a bit preposterous. I think great minds can come together from various backgrounds and create something spectacular. He clearly values her advice.
There's no glory for a robot, Elliot.
Like, figure it out yourself. Let it come to you. Yeah, that's fair. I don't quite know. Earlier I was kind of comparing her to Fletcher. Doesn't seem like
All right.
quite the
Let's
a-hole just
stop
yet.
here. Thank you, Max. Very good.
She seems stern
just
but measured
for my own
at
edification.
the same time.
Why did you come to Julia?
Okay, I guess this is where we'll find out in the
That's a
classroom.
brand, right? So did you come to study with a brand?
Okay, so she
No,
teaches at
right. So
Juilliard.
as a teacher or a graduate somewhere down the line, someone you aspired to be yourself. So, who was that?
Sarah Chang.
So you're a violinist?
Yeah, I do hear
Alright.
Juilliard is pretty, I don't want to say brutal, but pushes their students, which can be a good thing.
It's exciting to play new music, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. All right, please join the other fellows.
Somehow I don't think she meant that
Now, I
in an
know
also
you're
generous
all
way.
conducting students of Mr. Wolf's, but how many of you are also studying composition? Now, you can intellectually
disagrees with the
contemplate or
rest.
masturbate about the felicity of the so-called atonal, but the important question here is, what are you conducting? What is the effect? What is it
Right?
actually
His
doing?
legs shaking. Is he nervous? And everyone else in the room seems quite relaxed. I mean, I think it's a nervous tick.
Anna Thorwald's daughter gave him.
I used to have something similar where I'd rock in
said
my
she was
seat,
often
not
influenced
shit
by
like
the
I'd
form
just rock in my seat. But
and
I'm wondering if
structure of
is
the
it
dance
that he's
and
intimidated
nutrition
by
part
her
of it.
because everyone else in the room
But I'm not
seems
sure she was interested per se
relaxed. That's not to say he
in,
can't be
describing those
nervous,
actions.
but I'm just not sure why.
If her intent is vague, how do you, as a conductor, have a point of view about anything? Now, to be fair, I mean, there are times when you will simply have no choice. Because now, my friends, now is the time to conduct music that actually requires something of you. You know, music that everybody
Something
knows
that speaks
will
to your
hear
soul.
differently
It's giving
when
good
you
advice.
interpret it for them.
Don't put yourself in a
something like
box.
Bach's Mass in B minor.
I'm not really into Bach.
You're not into Bach. Oh, Max.
Why, Max?
Have you read the Schweitzer book?
No.
There's his leg again. It's clearly
Have you
unnerved.
played or conducted Bach?
Honestly, as a BIPOC
Oh, okay.
transgender person, I would say Bach's misogynistic life makes it kind of impossible for me to take it
Okay.
seriously.
That's the reason? I mean, it's not great, but if you look long enough in history,
Sure as to what his
if that's the
prodigious skills in the
basis
marital bed
on
have
which you're
to do
going to
with
judge
B minor.
people, we wouldn't have
Sure.
many inspirations to
Right,
take from.
right. That's your choice.
They are all mostly misogynistic asses. They were. All right, so I mean, I
Now,
like that
of
this
course,
this appears to be
siloing what
addressing
is acceptable or not
separating the
acceptable
artist
is a basic
from the
construct
art.
of many, if not most, symphony orchestras today who see it as their imperial
I don't know
right
if that would
to
be the focus
curate for
of
the
the film,
creed.
but
So,
it seems to be what we're
slippery as it
hinting
is,
at.
there is some merit in examining Max.
Yeah, they were all misogynist, racist. You know,
You know, what about Beethoven?
even
Into
though
him?
the greatest of
Because
greats
for me,
had some
as a
flaw
U-Haul
or another.
lesbian, I'm
There's no such thing as
not too sure
perfection.
about old Ludwig.
I'm not saying that we should dismiss,
then
their
face-
actions. But you're studying music. Focus on the
Come,
music.
Max, indulge me. Let's allow Bach a similar gaze.
I get that she's trying to get Max. I'm not sure whether she's trying to make Max more comfortable or whether it's a case where she just wants to be proven right. Because his leg is shaking like crazy. And I think she's trying to
Humility in Bach.
make a connection as a teacher to a student.
Because he knows it's always the question that involves listening.
It's a tough thing, I know. Knowing what that person may have stood for and that it doesn't align with your views. It's not easy.
You play really well. But nowadays, white, male...
Come on, Max.
Just not my thing.
Don't be.
You're not the
so
person
eager
is
to be
not
offended.
you're
The narcissism of small differences leads to the most boring conformity.
damn it. I'm with Tar on this. I mean, it's not the person that you're studying here. It's a complex topic. Let's just say that. It's very complicated. At least for those that, find it difficult to separate the two. I understand there are
Now,
instances where you
someday,
must
Max,
draw a
when you
line
go
where
out into
something
the world and you
egregious
guest conduct
is
for a
actually
major
done.
or minor orchestra,
But
you may notice that the players have more than
I don't
light
think
bulbs and music
the
on those
composer
desks.
being misogynistic is
They will also
that
have been
great
handed razor
divide.
sheets. Now, what
Now,
kind
if-
of criteria
like
would
I
you
said,
hope that they would use to do it?
And I guess that's where the complication comes in. Where exactly do you draw the line? If you discover that this person owned slaves and so on, is that where the line is drawn? Or if they were misogynistic, is that where
All right,
the
everyone.
line is drawn?
Using Max's
it is
criteria,
complicated,
let's
So
consider
where
Max's
exactly do you
thing.
draw that
Now,
line?
can we agree on two pieces of observation. One, that Anna was born in Iceland, and two, that she is, in a Waldorf teacher kind of way, a super hot young woman. All right, now let's turn our gaze back to the piano.
Yeah, you're not, you don't fit that mold, Max. So it's like
Possibly relate to the person we see seated before us.
You're a fucking bitch.
You are a robot. I mean, unfortunately, the architect of your soul appears to be social media. You want to dance the mask, you must
so
service
far
the composer.
I love her.
You gotta sublimate
Because
yourself, your ego, and yes,
she's
your
not
identity.
entirely wrong. I think you have to be a bit, you have to understand there's some nuance to this, right? In that it's not one or the other. You can respect the music and simultaneously acknowledge that the individual who composed it is, you know, had a very flawed life. You can do both. It's not one or the other. Yeah.
Well, I thought.
It just isn't.
You're hedging. I was garrulous. No, not at
the
all.
interview.
You're fabulous. Jessica.
I'm hoping it's not a case where, okay, she
Perhaps
had a thing with her and then
you
she's
could have
just
made
ignoring
less of
her.
the
And
relationship
hopefully it's
with
just,
No,
I have a
I was
partner,
thinking
so
about Mahler. No.
yeah, we have to,
You imply that she betrayed him. I'm not
we
sure.
have to keep things professional.
Oh. Said there was only room for
One asshole in the house?
Yes.
She agreed to those rules. No one made that
Interesting.
decision.
I love their dynamic.
Rules of the game.
Si la femme aura de monter à l'échafaud, elle doit aussi avoir celui de monter à la tribune.
Okay.
She has a point. Lydia very much appears to be rigid, you know, and okay, this is the structure. It's weird because she seems simultaneously adaptable but also unchanging in some respects. Oh wow, beautiful home.
Do you have some kind of profit-sharing deal with the utility company that I'm unaware of?
The flood is back.
This Sharon. What she said now was kind of funny because you think the kind of money that she makes, given how famous she is and this place, that she wouldn't be so concerned about a few lights. But I mean, I agree with her, but it kind of underscores how meticulous she is about,
I found this
about certain things.
lying loose in the drawer. Is this the right one? Yeah.
Thank you.
Interesting to want to know what their dynamic really is. He seems really caring right now, but she was clearly ignoring her before. So Sharon is, I'm not clear what exactly her condition is, but that she, I don't know, does she stay there with Petra alone, given that she seems so unsure of certain things around the house and so on? It doesn't feel safe to me for a kid.
Rejoicing, not screaming like a fucking.
I use music as well to wake me up in the morning. Not that, it's usually alternative music. Oh, is this Petra?
Hello, Petra. Why are you lurking?
That's what kids do. They
Tell
lurk.
me, and I'll help. Sharon. I'm taking Petra to school.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
She seems to be okay
Cheers.
now. Oh, Petra looks sad.
Who'll bear the pall?
We said the one, both the cock and the hen. I'll bear
At least she knows how to.
I'll
get her out of her own head and talking and so on. So she's good with Petra. It's interesting that she's a bit closed off with her other mom, but not Lydia. You would think it would be with Lydia, given how intimidating she can be.
Okay, which one is she?
The red one.
Yeah, so it is a bully.
Bye.
Ich bin der Vater von Petra. Sie hat mir viel von dir erzählt.
Oh, it's so scary.
Ich weiß, was du machst. Und wenn du das noch einmal machst,
Don't threaten kids, people, okay? this is wrong on so many levels. Talk to her parent.
Denk dran, Johanna. Der liebe Gott sieht alles.
No, it's funny. This would be as if, I mentioned Fletcher from Whiplash before. What's Fletcher's life like outside of his classroom? Who walks into a bathroom like that?
Oh, I'm sorry, Maestro. We weren't sure you were coming. We were told there might be a scheduling conflict. Would you like me to take notes?
No, thank you, Sebastian. That won't be necessary.
Ah, this is Sebastian. The one she's trying to let go. Or rotate. Okay, so it's done blind. It's judged blindly, so there's no favoritism, or anything of the sort. If you are familiar with the person. She recognizes those heels though from the bathroom. I wonder how much of that is intentional though, because it does feel as though Tar has a bit of a reputation, considering what happened when, after her interview at the very beginning and her assistant's reaction. And then there's this talk about this person named Krista and so on. And I do feel something happened between her and her assistant as well. So I wonder if this person did that intentionally, especially given how she walked into the bathroom, almost as if she wanted to be noticed. No one walks in the bathroom as if they're on a runway. I'm curious. So see, there are Lydia is clearly a flawed person. I'm just not clear how flawed. But she clearly does have people in her life that she cares deeply for. She's great with Petra, even with Sharon, even though she ignores her when she's not there. And with her mentor here as well. You just mentioned, a sensitivity to noise. Unless I'm going crazy too, I did hear the chime that she's hearing coming from somewhere. Okay, bit of an adrenaline junkie as well. When screaming, what the hell? Or is this in her head? She was a bit paranoid back at her place. Yeah. So did she do something? We just don't. That just hasn't been revealed to us as yet. Yeah, something is haunting her. It's clearly that they're using, a real orchestra to shoot. I wonder how many. Maybe they have actors sprinkled throughout that she may need to interact with directly. These are definitely not actors playing this well. I don't think. It's interesting. I think they probably could have had dialogue in German, just between them both, and just have the translation there. I think I would have preferred that.
The clarinet solo is still a bit too loud. It should really be an accompanying figure to the first violins.
Yeah. I feel bad for Sebastian, but at the same time, it's obvious that he has certain expectations and he wants things to be sort of traditional. And the music has to evolve.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
The clarinet is marked piano and we are marked pianissimo.
Sebastian likes to sit in the stalls, but there's no problem with the balance in the circle.
Yeah. So it's not just Tar that has an issue with him, really. Oh, it's that girl again. This is why I'm wondering if maybe she was deliberately trying to get on Tar's radar. I mean, Tar still should be the professional in the room, though.
Marking is higher than that
You have a partner.
Yes, that's true.
And he should be objective in selecting talent.
Knut. I'm rotating him out. You're the first to know.
Oh, here we go.
A vote must be taken.
I am familiar with the electoral conclave, but the appointment of the assistant conductor is entirely my decision.
She doesn't need their votes.
So I can count on your support with the others?
I mean, if she needs his support, clearly it's still possible to veto her choice. This is one of the things I love that this movie is doing beautifully so far, in that the decisions she's making are the correct ones, but the reasons why she's making them are the ones where the audience has to question her. Because she's right, Sebastian doesn't appear to fit in, but clearly she has an ulterior motive in removing him, or at the very least his replacement.
As quickly as possible.
Yes, thanks. Did you use the company card?
Yeah.
We can use it for
I know she sounds so
your taxi home.
broken. Oh, wow. I mean, she's clearly distraught. It's like, okay, you can go now. Why are you coming to your boss for that? I understand she's sad, but it's like, it feels a bit inappropriate. Which is why I questioned what their relationship was from the very start. Maybe something did happen and she broke, one or both of them broke it off.
Oh, no. When did this happen?
Day before yesterday.
Yeah, so this was about Krista.
There's no reason to get caught up in any intrigue.
He's already moved past it. So was she involved with Krista as well, or what? Or were the three of them involved?
There's nothing we could have done to stop her.
Because she's taking the hit very hard. She clearly seems infatuated with Lydia as well. And Lydia seems a bit dismissive of it right now.
I can't stop thinking about our trip up to UK,
Hmm.
The three of us were so...
Yeah.
Our trip, the three of us. Yeah, something was definitely happening with all three of them.
There was just something not quite right about her.
It's starting to look like at this point that Tar actually had some relationship with these young women. I don't know if this was, okay, I'll make you my assistant, or she used her power to get close to them and then just discards them afterwards. Okay, so recommendation for Krista. Basically several of them. She blacklisted her. I wonder if Sharon knows about the infidelity and she just
What was that one?
turns a blind eye to it.
Olga Mietkina. Russian. Strong player.
So she did get the part.
Gato. Looks like she's on the verge of climaxing.
Sure, Lydia likes that.
She's young.
Ah, so you've met her.
No, no.
This is interesting. I
Francesca
feel
mentioned
when
something
we
at
first
his
met
ring at
Sharon,
welcome
you know,
lunch.
it was more an era of disillusionment where, you know, it feels as though she's not quite right there, but she's really perceptive. Ah, so that's what was haunting her when she was running through the park and, or well, I mean, the noise from the apartment and when she was running and hearing the woman scream. So did she know in advance? Because the assistant did say it happened the day before. So did she know that Krista killed herself and that's what, you know, has been haunting her? And why she seemed so unsurprised when her assistant brought it to her attention. Yeah, she's
It's got to be
just
like
slowly
just one
becoming
person singing
unhinged.
their heart out. Sie spielen das wie eine Etüde.
Reel it in, Lydia, reel it in.
Okay.
Focus. And I mean, your partner is right there. Not that it should matter whether she's there or not, but I mean...
Maestro, what a surprise. I was just having a spot of lunch. Can I offer you anything?
No.
Some tea, perhaps?
No. Thank you. Must really have been something.
Oh, incredible to have lived through it. I'd only just arrived here with Andres, and suddenly the impossible was possible.
Oh, he's been with Andres that long.
I'd like to talk about that. If not now, then when, Sebastian?
He's trying to nudge him in
You mean leave
a different direction.
Well, rotate somewhere, yes.
This is my home.
Our only home is the podium.
I mean, he's much older than you are. I don't think at his age he's going to be hopping from country to country with his family. And she has just said herself that, you know,
I knew
Sharon wouldn't be up for leaving if she wanted to.
Andres told me not to worry, but
Sebastian suspects.
I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about.
oh, please. Just because nobody dares breathe it, we know the things you do.
Yeah. So it is common knowledge. Don't feign ignorance. You know he's right.
People have the temerity to question my integrity.
No, I'm sorry, Maestro.
Hold your ground,
No,
Sandra.
you know exactly what you're saying. I mean, if that's how you
Sebastian.
really feel about me, then wouldn't you say that staying is entirely
You're being a hypocrite at the moment, Lydia.
My machine's misbehaving again. I've already spoken to IT. Just here, let me borrow yours.
What's she up to?
Thank you. Where's the matcha?
She wants to get into her laptop for some reason. Didn't delete them. Which means that it implicates her in some way, right? She didn't even come out of search. Won't she just see that someone did a search for Krista?
You know, Sebastian's leaving us. And I wondered if you might compile a list of suitable replacements.
Why do you work for this woman, Francesca? She's clearly just using you. I mean, she has so much in her life. She has a partner who clearly, who I think suspects what's going on, but still loves her enough to ignore some of this stuff. And she has her daughter and her career. Why go down this path?
It's kind of a silly tradition, really, that new members are brought here to sup with the ghosts of the past.
This is like watching two different generations trying to find a topic to discuss.
Yes. First shashlik, then veal.
Cucumber salad.
Oh, is Lydia vegan? So it would be hilarious. She's trying to bang the new celloist and say, oh, we have nothing in common, but. This is hilarious to watch. No, I just love how this film forces you to question the fact that how she learned is so significantly different from how Lydia came into her own as a composer there.
Nein.
But at the same time,
Nein, tut mir leid.
there's still nepotism in the background because she says that, oh, her uncle will hold the part for her while she goes off and does this thing. So there are flaws on both sides. And no one is really perfect and innocent in any of this. Everyone is just as confused. But it's like Sebastian says, they know, but she's the maestro, so they just go along with whatever she says.
What we're still going through, and we're finally back together as a family. I feel that maybe the soloist should come from within our own. I mean, as a practical matter, I mean, this would normally fall to you. But given how much is going to be asked of you of the Mahler, I wondered if you'd be at all bothered if we were to hold...
It's her decision. Why are you... Yeah, she's overstepping. Because she wants to give it to the celloist.
He's going to have to be.
Yeah, everyone just falls in line.
How about Monday?
How about immediately? She clearly knows who she wants to get it, and she's feigning some audition. She's not even being coy about it anymore, and everyone knows, but and even Sharon knows, but she's not saying anything.
Are you absolutely certain about Sebastian?
Mm-hmm.
Who will you replace him with?
I wonder if he
Possibly
knows.
Andrew Crust.
Not the girl.
He's asking. Sebastian must have spoken to him.
Have you ever had an issue with a student or colleague where that person may have misinterpreted your
Has
intention?
someone been complaining about
No,
me?
no, of course not.
Because at this point, they missed their chance. I'm out of the game.
Yes, I know. Of course you are.
So now
Accused is the same as being
she
guilty.
wants to imply that Krista
But I
misinterpreted.
suppose that was also the case all those years ago with Furtwängler. A bit with Carry-On, too.
You're not equating sexual impropriety with being an accused, no.
By the way, you had
That's
to be ready.
quite the
For years, I made
comparison
sure all
to
the
make.
hangers in my closet were facing the same
And this isn't
direction.
exactly a witch hunt. People know what she's been doing. See, that's the thing. The celloist is good, but the reason why she's being chosen is questionable at best. Yeah, she's not choosing her because she thinks she's the best player or she deserves the position. She's choosing her because she's hoping to exchange favors. She's not even a member of the orchestra. When you do get
I have
a
made
promotion like that, you want to know that
Sebastian's
you've earned it. And this is just Lydia
It wasn't an easy one.
overstepping and
My personal affection for you aside, I will have to go with someone more experienced.
yeah, she was just dangling that over her head so she wouldn't give any evidence against her. Yeah, you're never going to get the job. But she did give the celloist What's her name? I need to remember her name.
I've told you before I...
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please, come in.
And she had her house. Is it normal to just have a one-on-one at the conductor's house? Oh, Lydia.
Okay.
Okay. A lot of inappropriate behavior, Lydia. I wonder, how long has she and Sharon been together? I'm curious as to whether that's how their relationship actually began. Was she just
assistant, but cumulatively speaking,
or did
I'd
this
say not more than a few months.
behavior start after they became a family, you know?
This recording will exist on a protected server under attorney-client privilege with Mr. Singer. Great. He will follow up with you to help prepare for the deposition.
Deposition. Yeah, this is bigger than I thought.
Deposition.
Yes. I assumed you were aware. Mr. Singer's office said they'd been coordinating with your assistant.
Right.
The only communication we've received from Francesca was an email to
Way to
her
go,
assistant in the
Francesca.
middle of the night tendering her immediate resignation, stating she would be in contact when she had more details to provide.
Yeah. But you know, it begs to you do wonder now, and which is why I say there are no good really persons in this, because you do wonder, would Francesca have turned over the evidence had she gotten Sebastian's position? Or was it because she felt slighted why she decided to turn over the evidence? Francesca's gone. Whatever the reason, whatever her reasons for doing it, she did the right thing. I mean, I don't know if I would have moved and uprooted my entire life, but maybe she didn't feel safe.
Fräulein?
Rats on rats. That's funny. She was doing something similar with Krista's name before, right? At risk. Ooh. Wow. Just some interesting symbolism. Tar aflame.
Come on.
Oh, this woman again. She just appeared randomly throughout and just disappeared. Chanel, come on. Wow, okay. Is this the mom? She fell? So why she left there on her own? Come on, it's just an old woman. I don't think if she had anything contagious, she'd just be living next door on her own there. But seems to have an issue with germs. Yeah, one of this is drawing some parallel, you know, as to whether this is Tar in the future, you know, if she continues on the trajectory that she's on now, she'll just be living alone by herself, and Petra will come by every month to check on her.
There's a small concert with musicians.
It's weird, man. How is this not inappropriate? Any of it?
Child, yes. I will not do that.
Pets are better for some people.
Yeah, it's really weird ass behavior. I'm sorry. Not just from Lydia, but from the celloist as well.
Goodbye.
She's being far too familiar. Kissing on the hand and yeah, no. None of this is okay.
Oh, Olga!
That's her name, Olga. None of this is okay, Olga. Your teacher should not be dropping you home. You should not be having regular visits to your professor's apartment. Lydia is equally responsible and should not be encouraging any of that or any of the behaviors that she's displayed as well.
Olga?
Okay, definitely heard footsteps. That's creepy. Oh. That's what she looked like on the inside, Lydia. Oh, ow, damn. That was hard. Now her outside matches her inside.
I'm gonna get you something for the pain.
No, I don't need it.
No, I'm gonna get you something.
Aw, poor Petra. I feel for Petra and all of this because it's just not going to end well for the family as a whole.
Du siehst schöner aus, wenn du lächelst.
You're too sweet, Petra. Is everything you've been doing worth losing Petra? It's a question she should be asking herself.
You've damaged some nerves. The burning sensation you're feeling is called notalgia paresthetica.
Nostalgia.
Notalgia. No.
How do we treat it?
It's so funny because she corrected
Eventually it goes away.
someone,
An adjustment
or
might
she
help.
corrected Sebastian about something similar earlier. That's not what she said.
Let's turn our gaze back to the piano bench up there to a super hot young woman.
I see what's happening. Trying to make her look bad. Which, I mean, you don't really need to. I think she's doing a pretty decent job of that on her own. Oh, the old woman died. She's not infected with something, Lydia. Yeah, Corden wants to cover their asses first. If anything, they'll throw her under the bus. Not that she doesn't deserve it.
Young women to engage in sex acts for professional favors.
Yeah.
Blocked opportunities to those who didn't comply. This is total
Sounds
fiction.
very accurate. If no one did, they wouldn't be sitting here.
As far as Krista Taylor goes, she was disturbed. I mean, she fixated on
Ah, so the clock was from her and the book.
Protest or file a complaint?
No, she probably liked the attention.
No, and I probably should have. I felt sorry for her.
Well, for now, it hasn't gotten all that much traction, so I say let's see what happens.
Let's ignore it until it
We
goes
wanted to
away.
give you as much warning as possible, Lydia.
Typical response from
Fridays, don't
these
we?
companies.
Well, unfortunately, I won't be there.
Well, I very much advise that you are.
I'm sure they'll enjoy it a lot more than you will.
Yes.
When will you be back?
The day after tomorrow.
Will you promise?
Yes, I promise.
It sucks that she sucks so much because I actually love her relationship with Petra.
To all
my questions pertaining to your communications with Krista Taylor and others, your answers have always been, I don't know, or I don't remember. Is there anything I could show you that might help refresh your recollection?
Emails from Francesca? No, haven't seen him in a while.
This is the capital funds prepared statement. I'm sorry to say this is likely the last time we'll see each other.
Well, now I can buy my own plane tickets. You can bother someone else to try and teach you to crawl to the podium.
Wait, she brought Olga with her? Why? You're being ridiculous. Okay, look, I'm sorry, but I find it hard to believe that anyone in our current generation would care enough about a conductor in Krista enough to show up and protest. I doubt many even listen to classical music. I find it hard to believe. This is not awkward at all. I mean, surely Olga must know about the accusations, but I have some questions regarding Olga and her motives as well.
I feel sorry for you.
Oh, save it.
Tried calling you last night. Did you have fun with her?
She tried.
Feedback is killing me. Francesca.
And you had to pick her?
I simply needed someone to carry
Get
my
another assistant. It cannot be that hard.
to go with me. Knut?
Yeah. But Sharon did in fact know. She just kind of ignored it for the most part.
What it was like to walk into my sectional yesterday and to see everybody whispering about me. It's got nothing to do with what they're accusing you of. It's a simple matter of not warning me that our family is in danger.
Yeah.
And what good would that have done?
Yeah, Sharon is not pleased. This is interesting though, because of how, you know, they portrayed Sharon initially.
The way you did when you first arrived here as a guest conductor looking for a permanent position. Of course, these conversations took place in another.
Yeah. This is interesting.
How cruel of you to define our relationship as transactional.
This is fascinating. Because it implies that
One relationship you've ever had that wasn't. And she's sleeping in the room next door.
yeah, I agree with that. This implies that Lydia was on the opposite side of things with Sharon. That she was the new player that came in and, you know, needed guidance, and she's doing similar, I guess, what Olga is doing, in that she played the field and she understood, all right, this is the person that can get me to where I need to get to. And it was a transactional thing with Sharon, where Sharon was the one who was in power. You know, she said this conversation took place in a different bed. So it's really interesting to see that that's, you know, I don't want to say she's a victim because she's not. She made the choices that got her here. But she was one of those girls that she's now taking advantage of. But very much aware of it. And it was very much intentional for her. We'll talk a bit more about that at the end, because I think it's really a bit nuanced, but it's really good writing there.
Don't do this. Please don't do this.
Oh. I guess Sharon has custody of Petra. Well, yeah. You've lost the only thing that was really the most important. Why'd she sneak in there earlier? Oh!
Lydia.
Lydia!
This is my score.
Lydia, you're confused.
But I'm confused. Did he steal her piece? Because she did. It was missing, right? From her home. Did he steal her piece?
Fine.
Not. She's clearly not supposed to be here. Yeah, she's pretty much a pariah in the community now. Lost her family, lost her career.
Just here.
This is
Here,
all her
thank you.
doing.
Make it 40.
It's funny because
Thank you.
she's been so sensitive to the noise before, but going to New York City is like the noisiest place ever, and that's where she ends up. Kind of ironic. Oh, is this her old house? Yeah. Like the apartment that Sean was speaking about. The supposed rundown apartment where she came from. This place looks pretty nice. She had forgotten why she was doing this. And I think the piece that she was trying to write at the very at the end, I think it did say it was for Petra. So, and she's now lost Petra, so she's kind of lost her purpose in a sense.
Tony?
Oh. Hi, Linda. Sorry. Lydia. Ma said you'd be over.
I love how they just tell you, they're just throwing these random people to kind of give you some background, but without holding your hand about it. It's like, oh, hey, Tony. Hi, Linda. Oh, Lydia.
But you don't seem to know where the hell you came from or where you're going.
So that's her brother. Okay, interesting. We haven't seen the mom. We've heard the mom, they've spoken about her, but we haven't seen her. Okay, I may have missed this. I didn't remember where exactly she is now. They're speaking Tagalog, so definitely not in New York City. Remembering Petra. She's just far away where I guess no one recognizes her, just performing.
Good morning.
I think her mentor
Now,
said
before we
something
begin,
similar,
let's
about someone
talk a
else
bit
who
about
was
the composer's intent with this piece.
kind of banned from the
And what she
orchestra
might be
community.
after.
All right, there we have it. Tar. This was a really fun watch. At first when we did start, I did start to feel as though, okay, maybe it didn't need to be as long as it did. But then when I did get to the end, I felt it was perfect in its length, with the exception of perhaps the very last maybe 15 minutes. I wasn't quite sure we needed all of that. I'm guessing they were in the Philippines because we were speaking Tagalog, but I felt as though that sequence didn't need to go on for as long as it did. The parts where she arrived and all of that stuff felt a bit irrelevant to what they needed to see at the very last minute. But overall, I enjoyed it. Going in, I was comparing this to Whiplash. But Whiplash was very much kind of an examination of, being the best and what that means. What is going too far? How far do you need to go to get to that level? And is it worth the sacrifice? This very much feels like more of a follow-up, to Whiplash, in that it ask the question, what happens when you do get to that point, when you do get to be the best, and you do get to the height of your craft? What becomes of you then? You've spent your entire life obsessing over that, perfecting that being your only goal. So when you do get it, you need to obsess over something else. What happens when you're no longer in control of that? What happens to you when you get to that point? And I thought it was really well done. Lydia Tarr was certainly an interesting character because in Whiplash, and sorry if I keep comparing it to the two. Whiplash is just the most recent similar film that I've watched that's kind of in the same vein. Like I said, I do want to watch Black Swan. I haven't watched it as yet, but I know it. I've heard it's really good. But in these films that discuss what happens in the creative space when the perfectionist sort of goes too far, kind of flying too close to the sun and all that. And what I liked about this in juxtaposition to Whiplash is that it's really easy to hate Fletcher in Whiplash because you don't see any other side to him. Even when you do see him show a softer side, you know he's just putting on a facade to manipulate someone else. It's easy to hate Fletcher, but it's not easy to hate Tar. Because one of my favorite things in this film was just her relationship with Petra. And I remember initially thinking that, okay, clearly she would be the one that Petra fears because she's so intimidating, but she really wasn't. She was more comfortable with her than she was with Sharon. And one of the things that I like that this film does beautifully is it does have a conversation. We're discussing the topic of separating the artist from the art, and oftentimes when that discussion does come up, as we do, currently with the environment that we're in now, especially with social media, is that you must be on one end of the spectrum or the other. You must either think that this person is completely horrible and there's no redeeming that individual, or you think their art is so good that it transcends anything that they've done, and what they did doesn't affect that. But there with all things there must be a middle ground. There has to be a nuanced conversation that can be had, and I think that's the message that I took away from this film, is that nothing is really that black and white. We spend the majority of the film going following Tar and seeing her unravel, because at the very beginning you see her life, all the prestige, all the accolades that she's accomplished, and you do respect her for that. She even says some things that you agree with, but in the end you have to acknowledge that she's a horrible individual. And there was a particular conversation that took place at the very beginning. That's in the classroom where she had with, I think, one of her students, Max, right? And ironically, she was discussing with him, being able to. I don't like the term separating the art from the artist, because I don't think you can do. I don't think that is possible. I think you can acknowledge that the individual has a flaw in spite of whatever great accomplishments they have. And I think that was her message to Max there in that situation, is that, okay, Max is essentially a black man, calls himself a cis male, and whatever other labels he added there, I don't remember. But at the end of the day, he's a black man, and in some respect, 10, 20 years from now, he would want persons reviewing his score, his music, to assess him not just purely on the color of his skin, but on the merits of his talent. And that's really what it comes down to. Yes, we can acknowledge that these additional labels are attributed to the person's personal life, but they're not what defines the individual or his craft, which is what he's putting on display. And so I think she made a very apt point there, in that, yeah, it's not so much about separating the art from the artist. It's that, okay, we're acknowledging that these individuals are flawed, because if you go far enough throughout history, it doesn't matter what great achievements, whatever names you may add to it, whatever accolades those individuals have, if you look closely enough, you'll find something that you disagree with, something that doesn't quite align with your current beliefs. And it's going to happen because look, as human beings, we are what I like to call a work in progress. Our civilization is a work in progress. Democracy is still in its infancy. Things like racism, misogyny, all of that is still very much rampant. But historically, it was far worse then than it is now. So your favorite music, the films that you enjoy today are based on achievements by individuals from centuries ago that may have done some pretty horrible things. We don't just discard that. That's just the central theme. You learn from history. You don't pretend that it doesn't exist. If you do that, that's at that point you're doomed to repeat history as well. So I think it has a very poignant message, and I like that it walks a fine line in accomplishing that. And one of the other ways in which it does that is that, like I said, it's very easy to dislike Fletcher in Whiplash, but it's a bit more difficult to. You understand what Lydia does is horrible, and she should be held responsible for it. But when you go through the dialogue that she has with Sharon towards the very end there, and you come to realize that even though Sharon was somewhat painted as the more sympathetic of the two in the relationship, that she's very strong-willed. And when Lydia first came there, Sharon was the one who was in power, and she gave Lydia that opportunity. And in many ways, Lydia is Olga in this situation, because you may look at the situation with Krista, and it is tragic. And we don't know the story about Krista and Francesca and how they became involved with Lydia. And Krista is very much a victim, from what we've understood. But it's important to note that not everyone is a victim. And I think that's one of the subtle messages here. Because in Olga's case, you don't, and maybe I misinterpreted this, but this was my takeaway. Because when we first meet Lydia at the interview, after the interview, we see another woman approach her, and she immediately engages her, and there was nothing wrong with that. She engaged her professionally, and she started talking to her, and then she starts to get a bit too familiar, and then asking for her number and complimenting her and so on. So it seems a lot of people who are knowledgeable about some of the bad practices that Lydia has have no issue taking advantage of that to further their career. And I think Olga did something similar to that young woman. She knows that Lydia, would trade favors to get her somewhere. And the first scene where they meet and she walks into the bathroom, and then during the audition, she did the same thing going up the steps, and she clearly wanted, and I know, again, like I said, it can be misconstrued, or people think that, okay, blaming the victim and all that, but that's not the case here. You can have individuals who have been taken advantage of, but then there are those who try to use the existing system to their advantage. That is what Lydia Tarr did. Lydia, I don't believe, is a victim in this case, because she knew that Sharon had the power to get her to where she needed to go, and she leveraged that. And in the conversation with Sharon, she said, even Sharon admits it, and she says, there's never been a relationship in your life that wasn't transactional, except for the one that you have with Petra. And Olga and Lydia, I believe, are doing the same thing. Lydia did the same thing with Sharon. She leveraged her relationship with Sharon. That does not mean Lydia wasn't talented. She was a talented, gifted performer, but she wanted to rise to the top immediately, and she used her relationship with Sharon to get to that point. And likewise, you see Olga doing the same thing, at least, again, from my perspective and what was on display. That was my interpretation of what Olga was doing, because there were instances where it is clear that Olga was not acting professionally. Same for Lydia as well. Kissing Lydia on her hand. Lydia should never have invited her to her house to begin with. So neither of these two are in the right. Yeah. And I'm glad that the film or the writers didn't just pivot in one direction, because nothing is that simple, you know. There are going to be gray areas that we have to explore, because with everything there is nuance. And I like that the film was intelligent enough to walk that line. You know, it's really easy to just say, oh yeah, you know, Lydia is such a horrible person, and you know, you get what you deserve, and that's it. Or go to the other end and say, you know, oh, try to make Lydia out to be some sort of victim, and ask the audience to sympathize with her. It didn't do either of those things. It encouraged you to acknowledge that Lydia was a flawed individual, and you know, she needed to be held responsible for her actions, even though she didn't directly harm Krista. She had a hand in it. She blacklisted her, and clearly other women as well. I believe they did say that they had interviews with other women who she may have had relationships with. So I really like that it took the time to explore all those elements instead of going for the low-hanging fruit and you know, just to kind of beat us over the head with a message. But you need to have a discussion. You need that nuance there to understand that there is sometimes it's not as simple as this person is horrible or this person is completely innocent. You do need to take the time and sort of understand all the nuance involved in it. And so, I mean, Cate Blanchett, like I said at the very beginning, I haven't seen a whole lot of Cate Blanchett movies. I'm aware of the actress, but I haven't seen a whole lot of her movies. But her performance in this was really, really phenomenal. I know we're approaching Oscar season now, of course, and she's at least one of the actresses at the top of the list for Best Actress, along with perhaps Michelle Yeoh. Those are the only two names that come to mind immediately. And if either of the two, I have not seen Everything Everywhere All at Once. Again, something else to add to my list. To be honest, I saw the trailer for that, and at the time, it just didn't feel like it was for me. So I didn't really follow up on it. I know it's doing really well now, not just in award season, but I think they've even re-released it in theaters again, because of how well it has been doing. So that's something that I might check out later on. But because I haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, it's tough to say, to compare the two actresses and say, you know, who gave the better performance. But all I can say is that I was blown away by Kate's performance here as Lydia Tarr. I think she did a fantastic job. Just to see, just as an individual, seeing how controlling she feels that she needs to be. And it's interesting because when you do understand her background, that she comes from humble beginnings by Hollywood standards, because that did not look like a rundown apartment to me. That looks like a pretty decent apartment. But she came from a not so wealthy background and worked her way to a point. Then when she got to Germany, I guess she met Sharon, and that transactional relationship took place and eventually got her to where she wanted to get to. But throughout all of that, it was just a slow descent, and seeing her become more and more unhinged. Some of the visual cues that were used and the symbolism throughout was really haunting. Especially that scene where she was trying to find Olga to return her toy, and you know, she was walking through the corridor and she kept hearing these steps, and saw no one until she finally saw the dog. And I do wonder whether the dog was even real, or whether that was just, you know, the things that she's done just haunting her. And it's quite poetic because she had a conversation with Andres at the, maybe at a halfway point, where he spoke about another composer who was kind of exiled from the community, and he described it as, you know, playing for the corpses, and that was his fate, playing for the corpses. And at the end, you kind of see, well, she wasn't playing in a graveyard per se, but she was hidden away from the world, playing to an audience that maybe wasn't what she would typically be accustomed to, so that ended up being her fate in the end, playing where really no one could hear her, and that was just really, really poetic. Yeah, I loved the thing that I loved about I loved the most about this was just the twist with her and Sharon, because of how they portrayed Sharon as being that weak, fragile, of the two in the very beginning. But the more we saw revealed about Sharon, the more we realized that Tara is not the one that's in control. She was the one who pivoted Tara in that direction and made her career, because she, they were having that transactional relationship. And there was that moment with the next door neighbor, which you'd be tempted to say it wasn't relevant, or it wasn't necessary to have that there, because you could take it out and it really wouldn't change much. But my takeaway was that this was drawing some parallel between the old woman and Tara herself, and which is why she was well, you get the impression that she's a bit of a germaphobe, but her reaction to the old woman almost felt as though she felt that could be her, and that frightened her. So she goes next door and she sees this old woman who's been taken care of by her daughter, and it's like, okay, is that going to be you in the next few decades, alone, and Petra may be coming by to ensure that you're taken care of? And it's unfortunate that she didn't take that lesson, and she kept going in the direction that she did, or perhaps at that point it was just too late. There was no redemption for her at that stage. Yeah. I'm curious to know, because no criminal charges were brought against her, really, but again, because she didn't have a direct hand in Krista's death. And a lot of these women, some of them were victims, but others perhaps were just for them it was also just a transaction. All right, I'll do this and you do this for me in exchange. So no criminal charges appear to have been brought against her, but she lost something even more important to my mind, which is her daughter, and her career, because she, music was her life for the most part. So having lost those two things, it's probably far worse for someone like her. Yeah, it was really, really. Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie a whole lot. Yeah, the conversation, the conversation she had with, I think Elliot was his name, right? I'm still puzzled as to whether this was a Fletcher moment in Whiplash, again, where Fletcher, or Neiman, or Fletcher for that matter, stole the book that they needed for the performance that was coming up. And we see something similar happen here, where her piece was missing, and I'm wondering did Elliot take it, or could it be a case where she was just so unraveled that she took it and misplaced it somewhere? But then Elliot was playing her piece at the orchestra as well, so how did he get it? Yeah, so there are some lingering questions there, but I like that. I don't think I needed that answered. I was just really curious as to how, what the truth actually was. Yeah, but it just goes to show, when you crave power to that extent, having coming from humble backgrounds, when you do get that power, what do you do with it? And it's just unfortunate to see that Lydia, didn't do the right things. And I like that the writers didn't just tell you that Lydia was a bad person. They forced you to question the decisions that she was actually making, because a lot of the choices that she made were the right ones, but the reasons that she was making them, weren't. And I say that because in some of the instances, for example, with Sebastian, everyone else, including Lydia, agreed that Sebastian wasn't doing a particularly good job because he had certain predispositions about what he expects. And again, the music needs to evolve and change, and he seemed a bit stuck in his ways. So the others agreed with her that Sebastian needed to go, but her reason for letting Sebastian go was to get this new young celloist in so that she could exchange favors with that young woman. Yeah, and likewise in promoting Olga as well. Olga is a talented player, and again, I draw that comparison with Lydia, because Lydia, for all intents and purposes, was a talented player, and I think it was Andres that said it. She said she had him to thank for her position there, but he said if it wasn't here, you'd be playing, in New York or somewhere else. So she would have still gotten, I think, to the point where she needed to with her career. But for some reason, she just had a hunger and a drive to get to that point, and I think it's something similar that we see with Olga. She has the talent, but she had that. I don't know if she'll make the same mistakes that Lydia Tarr does. Hopefully not, because she has the talent to get there, and I don't think she needs to have that transactional relationship to get to that point. But you still saw her attempting to do that with Lydia, and given that she's the only person that you saw visiting Lydia's apartment and so on, it's probably not the norm, so both her and Lydia, I see some similarities between those two characters. Hopefully Olga avoids going down the same end. So the relationship with her and Petra, like I said, I absolutely loved her relationship with her daughter. Don't certain students at school just talk to their parents? Not something you should be doing. But the people that you do see her interact with Andres, she was paying for the services that he was still receiving, even though the company wasn't paying for that anymore. But she didn't want him to know. She didn't want him to feel forgotten. So you see her doing those things with Andres, with Petra, even with Sharon as well. And you understand that for these persons in her life, she does truly care for them. But as an individual, she's unprofessional, and she's done these horrible things that impact other people negatively. And I did hope that we would have gone back to Francesca, but I mean that might have been there, and they probably had to cut it because it was running a bit long, because we never really understood where Francesca ended up. We know she gave evidence in the case, and obviously that had the intended effect in getting Lydia removed. But is Francesca okay? And it raises another question that I did bring up in the episode, and which is why I said I like that there are so many gray areas in this film, because you do understand that while Francesca was torn about Krista's death, at that point she didn't feel it was necessary to bring Lydia's involvement to the authorities' attention. She did nothing. Instead, she went to Lydia and said she needed to be held and so on. And then Lydia put on the table the possibility of getting Sebastian's job, and she was fine. Again, she held on to the emails. She didn't say anything. And then it was only after Lydia declined to give her the role, that's when she went to the authorities and turned over the evidence. So, like I said, there is nuance in the storytelling, because you do have to question whether Francesca did this because she felt slighted, not so much because it was the right thing for her to actually do. because she had plenty of opportunity to do that beforehand. But yeah, Petra is the only innocent character in this, and I feel for her because she's now kind of lost one of her moms, and it's just a bit unfortunate. Maybe for the best, you can argue that, but at the same time, you can see the positive influence that Lydia has had on her as well, to the point where, you know, when she's having nightmares, she's the one that she calls to rub her feet so that she feels safe and so on. So I think that is something that a kid would miss having and may impact them later on down the line. I don't know what the agreement was between her and Sharon, whether she has any visitation rights or anything like that. And that's the thing, you know, like I said, you want Lydia to be held responsible, but at the same time, you do care for the people in her life enough, and you see how she cares for them, and you do sympathize on that level, not for the horrible stuff that she's done, and there's no redeeming her for those things, but again, you acknowledge that the artist has flaws, but simultaneously, you do appreciate what they have to contribute, and I think that's the underlying theme of this film, and I love that. I love movies that you know, are about having a discussion, reasonable discourse, and not just pivoting to one end or another based on what might be popular. No, it encourages you to think, have the conversation, and draw your own conclusion from that. And I think that's where this film is at its strongest. All right, guys, that is it for my reaction to Tar. Definitely one of my favorite movies of the year. And I mean, I don't know whether it has a shot at winning Best Picture, because as much as I do like it, I don't believe it's going to be for everyone. And so I guess it'll depend on a lot. It depends on a lot of things. I do definitely believe Cate Blanchett should win for Best Actress. I think she's just done a phenomenal job, but that is admitting that at the same time admitting that I have not seen all the other films that the actresses may have been nominated for. But I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Alright guys, be sure to post down below in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on this. Remember to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one.